Hi, Jen and Megan. If you are watching, I hope things have been well. So this is my video reflection on the final business plan that we did for class. Just to remind you, my partners were Mary G and Olivia, and what we had planned to do was we were called Helping Hands. So we provided OT services through mobile services. So we were going to drive a van, and our population was reaching out to homeless individuals in the Atlantic City area. We were a nonprofit, and we were ultimately giving them help with transitional services. So, kind of starting at the beginning, how do we decide on our business plan? The idea actually came through conversation with me, Mary Jean, Olivia, because I was actually thinking about the Skills for Success students and how where we're at right now, the transitional support and services that they had, I felt weren't enough. And I know that there was a lot of factors that went into that, but that was kind of what started that initial conversation. And then through talking with Olivia and Mary, we weren't sure how much research would currently be out there in regards to transitional services for individuals with autism or executive functioning disorders. So then we were thinking, let's go broader. And we thought about, before homelessness, we thought about, there was another population of foster care individuals. And then ultimately we decided on the homeless population because homelessness, not only in Atlantic City, but just all around America, is really high, and there's really a need of services. So the idea stemmed from something small, and I think all of those areas could benefit from something that we created. But that was kind of where our idea began. So, is this an area of practice I ever thought about OT practicing in before? I have, and Olivia kind of brought in the homelessness, approaching that population to begin with. However, I think that this has been a new emerging area, not very new, but I've been listening on podcasts and students doing their capstones in, OT's role in the homeless population. So I thought that this was just a really good opportunity because there's not a lot of familiarity with our profession in this area, but I think that there's a lot of potential and a lot of ways we can grow. And just through going through this business plan with Mary and Olivia and talking about all of the ways in which we can help, even as a nonprofit, I really think that there is a lot of potential for OTs to really put our foot and make our mark in this setting and really make a difference. And so was this an area of practice I was interested in prior to this assignment? I wouldn't say that I was particularly interested. However, going through this assignment has made me a little more interested because, as I mentioned before, there really is just a lot that we can do. We're pretty diverse, and I think this population is certainly in need of as many services and resources that they can get. And I wonder what a change if they just had some more support in transitional services would come, what it would look like in the future. So do I think that this assignment connects to OT practice, even though I'm not a business person? How will it kind of connect to my field work and capstone if I have one in the future? I think that although I have never considered starting my own business, this did pique my interest into something that I could pursue down the line. I think what it really did for me too was it kind of just gave me an idea of everything that goes into making a business. I feel like when I talk to OTs and when I think about my future and owning my own practice, for example, it seems I'm not naive to think that it's easy, but going through this assignment, which was the scaled down version, I underestimated just how big of an undertaking it could and, will be and would be. Therefore, I don't see myself pursuing owning my own practice. However, That's not to say that it couldn't happen, and I think that this gave me a lot of insight and perspective into what goes into it. So, for example, now I consider, we're always talking about documentation and what does the billing look like for it. And so we were a nonprofit, but even that, like, we had to consider grants and how would we get our funding if these grants fell through, and who would we reach out to, and then just thinking about simple things like having to have a lawyer and how would we cover those services, even though we're hoping and anticipating we would never need one. Like, what does that look like? And I think there was a lot of hidden fees that I was unaware of that, I'm sure, depending on what kind of business you're creating, those are the things that kind of start popping up left and right. So ultimately, it just gave me a lot of perspective and a lot of insight and a lot of new understanding into what goes into planning a business and all of the different ways I would have to approach it. And that understanding that this is not an overnight thing and that there really needs to be some form of stability. And that there's just, like I said, a lot that goes into it. So I think that was really good, and it gave me some insight into going into my field works, really being diligent with my documentation, understanding the workplace and the importance of, rules and liability insurance and things of that matter. So ultimately, I really, really did enjoy this assignment. I really enjoyed working with Mary and Olivia. We were a really good group. We all had similar ideas. We were bouncing off one another. And even though it was tedious to go through all the work, it was really insightful, and I did enjoy it. So thank you.